everyone, how lovely to see you all. Welcome to Elemental Cartomancy. I'm so glad to be back in front of you. Sorry you've not heard from me, and well, it's only been a couple of days to be fair, but normally I do try and get a wee video put out over the weekend. However, as a lot of you will know, because I've not stopped moaning about it, I actually lost Wi-Fi for the past, well, not the past, sorry, for the last 2 days of my annual leave from work, which, when your phone internet is absolutely shit, you can imagine that was just delightful. So I'm glad to be back filming, and I'm glad to be back putting out content and just generally chatting to you guys. Actually, I'm on today to do a video response, or a video continuation of the conversation, I suppose, to the lovely James Feeney from Lemnis Logic. This is Tarot Correspondences, Brilliant and Bullshit. I was talking to James the evening that he put out this video. I think it might actually have been Saturday, the last point at which I had internet, and I was saying that, I actually quite fancy doing a response to this, and then my internet cut out, so that was great. But anyway, here we are. Yeah, Tarot Correspondences, Brilliant and Bullshit. I kind of love the idea of correspondences, so when I saw this video, well, right away I clicked and watched James's video and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I really like the idea of kind of just, you know, like I say, continuing the chat about it, just because it's something that I enjoy, it's something that I like to talk about. So I suppose correspondences, there's so many different types of correspondences, and there's so many different decks that follow these correspondences. You know, we have the kind of usual, like, elemental and numerological, you know, astrological correspondences, even Kabbalistic, you know, the ones we're kind of used to seeing. And then we have some different ones, you know, for example, like crystals, chakras, apparently everything else is just going in my head, stories, you know, fairy tales, all that kind of thing. So there's so many different types of correspondences. And I think that, you know, basically my conclusion is that they can be both brilliant and bullshit. It really just depends on how they're used, both in the deck being created, but more so by us as consumers. So what makes correspondences brilliant? Well, I think that they open tarot up. You know, first and foremost, they make it less intimidating, and they make it a lot easier to learn. And the thing is, there's something there for everyone, right? So if you're someone who's very kind of logical and remembers things by patterns and associations and things, then you might benefit from, like, for example, numerology, like me. Numerology is a big thing in my reading practice, and that's because I've got a very logical brain. Equally, you know, if you might also like, you know, the astrological kind of correspondences that we see in likes of the Thoth deck and whatnot. Also, obviously, if, for example, you were coming at it with a background in astrology, and then you were, you know, kind of looking at reading tarot, then obviously that's a big plus as well. So there's all sorts of things like that. There's also interests, you know, there's all sorts of decks that link up with all sorts of different topics. And, you know, depending on what your interests are, there's probably a deck out there that has a correspondence to that interest. So, for example, the Quantum Tarot, that is a deck that basically links each card to a different concept in physics. So if you know, I've got an interest in physics and those kind of sciences, then, you know, that's a great deck for you that you know, that might really spark your interest. There's Fairytale Tarot, it's up there, and probably take me too long to reach over and get it and fumble about to show you, but there's the Fairytale Tarot where each card, in fact there's a few tarots like this where each card is linked to a story, a folk tale or a fairy tale or whatever you want to call it. That's, you know, that's another thing, you know, if you're really into like kind of the written word and stories and whatnot, then that might be something that really opens it up to you. So anyway, the point is it opens it up to people. It makes it easier to learn, easier to understand, less intimidating, more approachable. So that's one of the kind of big thumbs up, I think. Makes it fun as well. You know, if you're coming at it, when I first got a deck, I was like 8 or 9 years old. You know, for me it was 78 cards with different pictures on it, and I had to learn what they all meant, and that's really an intimidating way to, you know, to come at it. My first deck was Smith-Waite, so I didn't learn initially through any correspondences or anything like that, whereas if I'd kind of broken it down in that way, then it might have been a bit easier for me. So it definitely makes it more fun, I think. So for example, I'm thinking of like the Fairytale Tarot, or, you know, anything that might be relating to an interest that you have. I'm kind of glancing at my decks as I'm speaking to try and like pull an example out of my arse here. But so I suppose it's not a tarot deck, but it's in the same vein. You've got like the, you know, the wild unknown animal spirits. If you're really into animals, then that might be a deck that really that you enjoy. Albeit it's kind of an aside because it's not a tarot deck, but you know what I mean. There's animal decks out there. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about the kind of about it being brilliant. So makes it approachable, makes it fun, makes it easier to learn, and by association it makes it easier to remember as well. I think where it starts to cross the line to becoming bullshit is when it becomes restrictive, and I think that's the big, you know, that's what really, you know, that's where correspondences can really kind of become in danger of becoming a bit bullshit, is when they restrict you as a reader. So if, and this can be like, you know, I suppose a couple of different ways. You can become restricted in that you become dependent on that system. So for example, here's a Thoth deck here. Thoth follows a few different systems, you know. You've got the astrological associations. So here we've got, oh gosh, am I going to be able to tell you? They're quite subtle on the Thoth, so they are. I can see we've got Mars and something. Oh no, actually, I maybe got Venus and something for the Five of Swords, but I can't see what the star sign is. But never mind. We've got the astrological associations. There's also Kabbalah and whatnot as well that I understand that it follows. So yeah, it might be that you learn to read cards using, for example, the astrological associations, but then you go and you pick up a deck that doesn't have any astrological associations on it, and then it's like, it's covers you because it's like you've kind of learned to rely on that, so it becomes a crutch for you, you know, and in that way it becomes a bit restrictive. There's also, I suppose, I mean, given that we are kind of interpreting cards here, you can become a bit nailed down to certain meanings for certain cards. So, well, there's like a bajillion different tarot decks out there. The Four of Coins in one deck might differ slightly in meaning from the Four of Coins in another deck. And I think if you're learning by these associations, sometimes you can get yourself pinned down to that one meaning, you know. So if you are picking up the Four of Coins, for example, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, you might look at that and say, all right, well, that looks to me like someone who's quite stingy, someone who's holding on to what they've got and they're scared to let go of it, blah 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 blah, which is all good. You then pick up another deck, and the Four of Coins has got a different depiction. Perhaps it might have it might demonstrate just financial security or material security, but your brain's telling you, oh no, this is supposed to be, this is a stingy card, you know, so it means stinginess. You can become locked down to certain meanings in that way if you rely, I suppose, too much on correspondences. So yeah, the other thing is, and I suppose this is hopefully less of an issue, but there are some decks where, you know, they might pick correspondences from certain systems that perhaps don't quite conform to the system of cards that they are, you know, that they are depicting. Basically what I mean by that is you might get cards. Now this is an example that I've managed to find. This is the Seven of Coins, or Seven of Coins from the Tarot of Dreams. So the depictions, the images, the pictures in the Tarot of Dreams are very much of the Smith-Waite kind of system. You know, the depictions we see are quite in keeping with the Smith-Waite. And of course, when you look at this card, we see the Seven of Coins, we see someone who's kind of they're, you know, waiting for the right time to harvest what they're growing. But they grab the astrological correspondences from, well, it's maybe not from the actual Thoth deck, but from the same place that the Thoth deck gets it, I think. Because here we seem to have, you know, Saturn and Taurus. Now, Saturn and Taurus, you know, that, as I understand it, I'm not great on astrology, but as I understand it, that astrological correspondence is quite a negative, you know, has quite a negative meaning. And indeed, when you look at the Seven of Coins, I think I've got it here, and the Thoth, the key word is failure. So I suppose that's what I'm saying. Sometimes decks kind of pull together different correspondences from different places, and sometimes they don't really marry up perfectly well. So yeah, that was a really rambly video. Hopefully it made sense. You were able to pick up on most of what I was saying. I suppose the conclusion is that correspondences, they are brilliant when they're used in an appropriate way, you know, when they're used to expand your knowledge, but they're bullshit when they're used to restrict your knowledge. So all about how you use them. And one thing that I didn't mention that is just coming into my head now, not only can correspondences help you learn the tarot better and get on with the tarot better, but say you are someone who's been reading the tarot for some time. For example, I've been reading it for some time. There's certain decks that I've got where the correspondences actually really help me get to know, you know, what the correspondence system is. For example, I've been working quite a lot lately with Crystal Skulls Tarot by Jessie Driscoll, our very own Jessie Driscoll. And I'm learning so much about different crystals and what they mean and what they do, just by working with this deck. Similarly, the Chakra Healing Tarot, I've got the prototype of this deck. It's on Kickstarter just now, so definitely check this out. But yeah, Chakra Healing Tarot, it's enabled me to really kind of get to know the chakras really well, whereas before I had not a Scooby, you know, didn't know my third eye from my root chakra. But yeah, so it can be a really good way of getting to know other things as well as the tarot. So yeah, that was just a random wee slot in there. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you all have an amazing rest of the week. Take care everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.